What if the very qualities you were taught to cultivate, being gentle, agreeable, and endlessly forgiving, are the exact reasons why others belittle you, exploit you, or quietly dismiss your value? Look around carefully at the people you know. The men who always nod along, who make themselves useful at every opportunity, who believe generosity and accommodation will secure admiration. Where are they positioned in the social order? They are the ones whose evenings vanish doing favors that no one appreciates, whose wallets are emptied by loans that never return, whose energy is consumed without gratitude. Their supposed goodness turns into invisible labor. This pattern can only be described as the affliction of the perpetual pleaser, the so-called nice guy. These individuals convince themselves that being endlessly agreeable earns them loyalty and respect. But life operates by different rules. Society does not elevate the gentle, it bows to those who project strength. Weakness, once revealed, spreads from you like a distinct odor that opportunists can detect immediately. By showing no defenses, no self-respect, no resistance, you announce to the world that you are an unguarded resource. The manipulator, the exploiter, the selfish friend, all of them recognize you instantly as an easy target. Centuries ago, Machiavelli revealed that true power does not come from aggression or loudness, but from calculated control and the ability to think far ahead while others are still reacting to yesterday's events. The tragedy of modern conditioning is that men are trained to mistake weakness for virtue. They are told that surrendering their needs for others makes them noble, that carrying everyone else's burdens makes them respectable, that erasing their own priorities is the path to being valued. What they are not told is that kindness without boundaries is nothing but an invitation. Others look at your generosity and ask themselves what they can extract from you. They look at your willingness to listen and think of how they can transfer their problems onto you. At the root, human beings protect their own interests first, and the moment you show blind selflessness without self-respect, you are reducing yourself to a tool in someone else's plans. When you are seen as a tool, you are not cherished. You are consumed until empty. If you want to change this, you must learn how to craft your presence deliberately, control your emotions, and build a reputation that forces others to think twice before they take advantage. Once you truly experience the difference between being used and being respected, you will never again desire to play the role of everyone's endlessly helpful companion. Release the illusion that permanent kindness secures lasting value. Replace it with this commitment: I refuse to remain weak. I will choose strength, authority, and control. The first transformation begins with the rejection of the endlessly agreeable role. This figure is familiar: the man who gives money but never asks for repayment, who cleans up the mistakes of lazy companions, who works overtime while others leave early, believing he is buying admiration. In truth, he is purchasing nothing. People do not respect his sacrifices. They exploit them. Harmlessness sends out a signal clearer than words: this man will not resist. Machiavelli once remarked that men more easily forgive the loss of loved ones than the loss of profit. What he meant is that self-interest dominates human behavior, not gratitude for noble sacrifices. Ask yourself honestly, do you admire the friend who is always available, who drops everything for you, or the one who sometimes declines because he has his own priorities? You already know the answer. The perpetually available man becomes furniture in your life, always there, always ignored. The selective man, who chooses his moments carefully, is valued when he decides to help precisely because you know it came from choice, not compulsion. Standards generate gravity, boundaries generate weight. To be respected, you must first show that you respect yourself. This recognition is crucial because opportunists have sharp instincts. They identify the excessively agreeable man quickly. He is the one who cannot say no, who gives even when it hurts, who sacrifices when he should protect himself. From that moment on, he becomes their permanent resource, their problem solver, their fallback plan. He is used, not admired. To escape this role, you must replace kindness with strategy. This does not mean cruelty. It means helping when it aligns with your interests, declining when it does not, and preserving your time for yourself. Selfish individuals drain others to build themselves. Strategic individuals build themselves first so they can act from strength. When you defend your energy and enforce your standards, others adjust their behavior. They hesitate before asking. They measure their demands. They treat you with a level of caution that is absent when dealing with a man who is perpetually available. The indiscriminate giver becomes invisible. The strategic man becomes respected. Men who cling to endless kindness are treated as pawns. Men who operate strategically become players in the game. Once you reject the role of the nice guy, the next step is cultivating strategic ruthlessness. Goodness alone is insufficient. You must be willing to suspend it when circumstances demand. This is where most men fail. They believe being ruthless automatically makes them wicked. Yet ruthlessness, when applied with strategy, is not cruelty. It is self-respect with consequences. When others cross your boundaries, your instinct might be to overlook it, to assume good intentions, to avoid confrontation. But this is exactly what exploiters depend on. They expect your forgiveness, your tolerance, your willingness to swallow discomfort. Machiavelli declared that a leader must learn not always to be good. He understood that men who are endlessly soft, endlessly forgiving, and endlessly flexible make themselves into victims. Strategic ruthlessness is the ability to cut ties when someone shows their disrespect clearly. It is the strength to deny endless second chances to those who repeatedly violate your trust. It is the decision to enforce consequences rather than endlessly excuse behavior. Consider the difference in approach. When someone borrows money and never repays it, the agreeable man invents excuses on their behalf, hides his discomfort, and silently tolerates it. The strategic man acknowledges the offense and adjusts the relationship, making it clear that disrespect has consequences. When a person continually cancels plans at the last moment, the agreeable man schedules another, hoping it will work next time. The strategic man stops offering opportunities to the unreliable. When someone talks down to you, mocks you, or belittles you, the agreeable man attempts to win them over with even greater kindness. The strategic man either confronts the behavior directly or exits the environment entirely. This is not revenge. This is not cruelty. It is refusing to allow yourself to be treated as disposable. People only treat you as badly as you permit. The majority expect you to tolerate mistreatment without resistance. But the moment you enforce consequences, the dynamic shifts. They begin calculating differently. They realize that disrespect comes at a cost. They start reconsidering their behavior, not because of their conscience, but because of your standards. Strategic ruthlessness also means making decisions with long-term advantage in mind, not with the immediate goal of pleasing everyone. Sometimes advancing requires choices that disappoint others. Sometimes prioritizing yourself means someone else's comfort must be sacrificed. This is not malice, it is necessity. The selective application of ruthlessness is key. You do not need to strike at every small offense. But when patterns of disrespect reveal themselves, when others expose through their behavior that they do not value you, you must be ready to act firmly. Strength is not about destruction. It is about boundaries. Consequences are the language of respect. The man who protects his dignity with teeth is treated differently from the one who endlessly forgives. People instinctively respect strength, not weakness. And once they learn you are willing to defend your standards, they approach you differently forever. Beyond ruthlessness, true power rests on discipline and emotional control. Your emotions are potential weapons that can easily be turned against you if you fail to master them. Every time you explode in anger, every time you rush into action based on irritation or fear, you hand your power to the other person. They now know how to provoke you. They know which buttons to press to derail your composure. The man who remains calm while others lose control gains a profound advantage. He thinks clearly, makes decisions without clouded judgment, and projects reliability. Emotional control is not about suppressing all feelings. It is about governing them. It is the difference between reacting impulsively and responding strategically. When insulted, the weak impulse is to retaliate instantly. The strategic choice might be silence, which exposes the other person's lack of dignity. When pressured to act quickly, the impulsive reaction is to surrender just to avoid conflict. The strategic answer is to delay, to request time, to analyze carefully. The difference is enormous. Those who control emotions remain unpredictable and untouchable. Those who react emotionally are manipulated repeatedly. Machiavelli himself noted that the quality of a leader is visible in the people he surrounds himself with. This insight applies beyond politics. Emotional control ensures you select companions and allies based not on fleeting feelings, but on proven loyalty and shared goals. Men without control choose associates because they feel good. Mastering pauses and stillness in communication requires practice. Many people feel compelled to respond instantly to every question or remark, believing silence indicates weakness or confusion. The opposite is true. Taking your time unsettles others, leaving them to wonder about your thoughts. When you finally speak, the impact is multiplied precisely because of the delay. People interpret the silence as calculation. Your opinions gain gravitas, not because the words themselves are superior, but because of the discipline with which you release them. Pauses sharpen your authority the way sharpening a blade increases its cutting power. Those who ramble dilute their influence. Those who choose their moments command attention. Silence, when used strategically, builds intrigue and authority simultaneously. It forces others to adjust to your rhythm instead of dragging you into theirs. The man who knows how to say little at the right time earns respect from allies and fear from rivals. Every pause becomes a reminder that you are not desperate for approval, not compelled to fill every void. In this way, silence becomes more than absence of sound. It becomes an instrument of control. From here, understand another vital truth. There is a world of difference between being useful and being harmless. The two may appear similar on the surface, but in practice they are worlds apart. Those who are genuinely useful provide solutions, contribute skills, and improve situations. Those who are harmless, by contrast, are mere placeholders, individuals who avoid conflict, refuse to challenge wrongdoing, and drift along with whatever preserves the appearance of peace. People admire usefulness, but they exploit harmlessness. When others recognize that you contribute meaningfully, they grant you respect because you bring value that cannot easily be replaced. When they see that you are harmless, they take you for granted, knowing you will never resist exploitation or impose consequences. Machiavelli expressed this paradox elegantly when he wrote of the lion and the fox. The lion frightens wolves but falls into traps, while the fox sees traps but cannot fight wolves. To survive and thrive, a man must combine the cunning of the fox with the strength of the lion. This means recognizing manipulation when it surfaces and being forceful enough to deter it. Being truly useful is not about compliance. It is about bringing value others cannot ignore while ensuring you are strong enough to resist misuse. Being harmless, however, is not a virtue. It is a liability. Harmless individuals stay quiet when they should speak, avoid battles when confrontation is necessary, and allow exploitation in the name of kindness. They believe they are maintaining goodness by never rocking the boat, but in reality they are enabling destructive behavior. When you watch someone treated unjustly and say nothing to avoid involvement, that is not kindness. It is cowardice disguised as peacekeeping. When people repeatedly abuse your generosity and you let it continue to escape conflict, that is not patience, it is weakness. When destructive decisions unfold before your eyes and you refuse to intervene because you fear criticism, that is not support, it is negligence. Harmless people vanish when difficulty arises. No one depends on them in times of trial. Useful individuals, however, are the ones who step forward when circumstances demand action. They face discomfort willingly if it serves a greater purpose. They are not hunters of conflict, but neither do they flee from it. Sometimes usefulness requires blunt conversations that others avoid. Sometimes it requires drawing lines that upset people. Sometimes it means declaring allegiance when neutrality would be easier. This is why useful people are trusted with responsibility. They can be relied upon to deal with difficulty, not to vanish when it appears. Harmless people, on the other hand, are entrusted with nothing of significance, because their reliability is absent when it matters most. If you wish to be respected, commit to being useful rather than harmless. Develop skills, provide solutions, and remain strong enough to enforce boundaries. Let others know that when situations grow complicated, you will not crumble. This does not mean seeking conflict for its own sake. It means embracing discomfort when the situation demands it. Harmless people vanish into irrelevance. Useful people rise into trust and respect. Choose the role that creates weight in your presence, not the role that renders you invisible. The man who contributes value while refusing to be exploited becomes indispensable. The man who hides in harmlessness becomes expendable. The next law of strength is unpredictability. Those who can be easily predicted are easily controlled. If people know exactly how you will react, they can manipulate you with frightening ease. They will apply pressure when they know you yield under pressure. They will use guilt when they know guilt compels your compliance. They will flatter you when they know praise will secure your effort. Predictability turns you into an instrument for others' purposes. Unpredictability, however, forces people to adjust themselves to you. Machiavelli once declared that those who seek ongoing success must change with the times. This is not encouragement to be chaotic. It is a call to adapt strategically, never falling into mechanical patterns. Thoughtful unpredictability keeps others uncertain, which keeps you powerful. At times you agree quickly. At other times you delay, making them wait. At times you decline entirely. The fact that they cannot anticipate your answer compels them to treat you with more seriousness. They must earn your cooperation instead of assuming it. Your unpredictability teaches them that each interaction requires effort, not reliance on pre-existing patterns. This unpredictability extends into every type of exchange. When someone pressures you, sometimes you meet it with firm refusal. Other times you walk away wordlessly, leaving them unsettled. Occasionally you even flip the pressure back onto them by calmly asking why urgency is so necessary. When someone expresses disappointment, sometimes you examine their point if it has merit. Other times you dismiss the emotional ploy entirely, or you remind them that their disappointment is their burden, not yours. This calculated variability achieves several results. First, it ensures people do not take you for granted. They cannot anticipate blind compliance. Second, it forces them to approach you as a person, not as a predictable mechanism. Third, it makes your affirmative responses carry real weight. When your yes is not guaranteed, it becomes meaningful. Finally, it protects you from habits that undermine your interests. Perhaps in the past you always accepted extra work. Now sometimes you do, sometimes you don't, depending on priorities. This flexibility strengthens your authority because it is anchored in deliberate choice, not reflex. It demands confidence in your judgment. It shows you act from principle, not pressure. Predictability is weakness. Unpredictability is strength. The man whose reactions are mapped out is a man whose life is controlled by others. The man whose responses shift according to strategy becomes impossible to command. And here lies the lesson most men never grasp. The world does not reward purity of intention. It rewards power. Strength is respected, not naivety. Influence flows to those who master control, not to those who surrender it. You need not abandon goodness, but you must armor it with standards. Goodness without strength is not virtue. It is fragility disguised as nobility. Real power comes from self-governance. Controlling your emotions, shaping your image, choosing your words, defining your limits, and breaking expectations when it serves your interest. The goal is not cruelty. The goal is to become a man who does not beg for respect but commands it. People treat you as you train them to. Train them with standards and boundaries and they adjust. Show them weakness and they consume you. The choice is clear. Stop living as a perpetual giver. Start living as a man who builds respect through strength and calculation. The right allies will remain, bound by mutual respect. The wrong ones will vanish, repelled by your standards. And this is as it should be. The future belongs not to the harmless, but to those who choose power, strategy, and control. Write this into your mind as law. I will not be weak. I will seize authority over myself. I will value strength above approval. Weak men are destined to be ruled. Strong men shape memory and command respect long after their presence fades.